welcome back. It's Monday and you know what time it is. It's tea time. This week I'm talking about an influential venue in Morgantown called the Underground Railroad. Today's episode couldn't have been better timed, and I'll get into that as I go along. I say the Underground Railroad and the Dry House were to Morgantown is what CBGB's was to New York City back in the day. The Underground existed from the mid-'80s up until about 1989, before the disappearance of Marsha Ferber, who was the owner of the club and ran the club. Right now, there's a podcast out called I Was Never There. It's done by a mother and daughter, Karen and Jamie Zellemeyer. You can find it on Apple Music. You can find it on Spotify or wherever you download your podcasts from. They just released the 5th episode. There's going to be 8 in total, and Jamie and Karen's running down the history of Marsha's life and the venue is incredible. So please check it out. With that, I'm going to get into my shirts. The first one I have, this was done by an artist that I know. His name is Steve Shook. I believe he lives in Baltimore, but he used to go to school here back in the day and used to frequent the Underground. And he made this great artwork tribute to the Underground, and I ordered one of these a couple years ago from his site. This was a shot from the front of the building, and it's incredible. When I saw it, there was no doubt about it. Take my money. And I've been in contact with Steven off and on for the last couple of years. Very nice gentleman. He's done prints of all sorts of other music venues around, like he did the 930 in DC and a bunch of other cool artwork venues. But this shirt is awesome. It just encapsulates the time of what you would see in the front of the building when you would go into it back then. I was a kid when the Underground and the Dry House were a thing. My mom wouldn't let me go to the Dry House because she said they did drugs down there and whatnot. But the Dry House was what is now the lower bar of 123 Pleasant Street. That was the all-ages venue. They had a vegan restaurant in there, no alcohol. Black Flag, the Dead Kennedys, all those bands have been through those doors, as well as the Underground. Bo Diddley, Chili Peppers, everybody that you can think of has been there at some point in their career. I remember a friend of mine coming back to school on Monday morning that went and saw the Cro-Mags on Sunday at a matinee show. So I lived that through my friends. In 2013, they did an Underground Railroad reunion show. It was a whole weekend long deal. Bands from way back in the day had gotten back together, all the local bands that could get back together, got back together, and we did a 2-day long show. One night was all the reggae bands and the alternative like that, and the next night was the punk bands, and it couldn't have been better timed because I got to see the Inbred for the very first time in my life ever because I was too young and my mom wouldn't let me go to those shows. It was so awesome to see that. I got to see Velez Manifesto, which was Thomas Moore, my guitar player from Jet Set Vapor Trails. That was his band back in the 80s. They were kind of one of the house bands at the Underground. You could catch them on Thursday nights and whatnot for like New Wave Night. It was an awesome experience, and actually I got to close the show on the second night. Velez was playing. They had asked Tom, and he's like, well, I don't want to do a whole set, so we're going to do like a half Velez set, and then we're going to do a half a Jet Set Vapor Trail set. And so for someone that was around and lived vicariously through my friends through that time, it was an honor for me to be able to play at that show, and especially the last band on the last night. I remember looking at Tom right before our set was over, and I said, Tom, we're almost done. You got to say something. All the bands have said something. I'm like, this is an amazing weekend, and I met so many cool people. I'm like, you got to say something for this. And he just smugly looked back at me like Tom would do and go, I don't talk on the mic. So I got up from behind my drum kit, and I went out and I gave a speech, a very heartfelt, emotional speech about what the Underground meant to me and what I perceived it as growing up in the bands and my friends' bands that had played there since they were kids when they played in the Dry House. And I hope I summed up the weekend and the vibe and the feel with that. And it was really cool because afterward I met a lot of the old heads from back in the day that came up to me and they're like, man, you got some balls and you got some heart, and that was really cool. And that still sticks with me. So I was 40 years old when that happened, so to be in that element and get respect from the people that were there when it mattered was really cool. DL, she used to hang out with Marsha, and she did some t-shirts for the reunion, and so I've got a couple of those, and these are great shirts from original designs from back in the underground. So DL gave me this one. DL gave me this nice ash gray one with the old underground logo on the front of it. We still have the sign for the original underground sign in Pleasant Street. Yeah, this was the reunion weekend, May 24th to the 26th, 2013. This was really fun, especially getting to see bands that I had always heard about, but never got to see back in the day, and it was awesome. This next one is my favorite one, because anytime you would come down, there is a mural of Harriet Tubman in the bar. I believe that the original mural was behind the stage. This is a great shirt. In the front, we've got an awesome picture of Harriet Tubman, and then on the back, one of the old Underground Railroad logos that was redone for these shirts. I love this shirt. I get a lot of compliments on this when I wear it, and so thank you, DL, and thank you everybody that was a part of that scene back in the day, and those that are still around. If you look at my channel, you will find I have a couple of videos of Velez Manifesto from, I believe, 1985. It was pointed out to me by a friend of mine with a very good memory, and actually gave me the song titles for all the songs on it. But if you look, I have 2 sets by Velez Manifesto that Randy, he was one of the guys that ran the bar with Marsha. He would videotape a lot of shows, and when Thomas passed away in 2018, he handed me like a stack of VHS cassettes of Velez playing live, Tom doing some solo stuff. And I want to thank my friend Bob Williams for being able to salvage one of those tapes, because they're pretty old and kind of moldy. And Randy even told me he never even watched them. He recorded them all those years ago and never watched them. And Bob was able to salvage one of them and transfer it to digital for me. So if you look on my page, you will find links to those videos. Both of those sets, I believe, are 45 minutes. They were from the same night. There's completely different sets. So that's a really, if you want to go back and relive some of the heyday from the underground, or you were there and you would like to remember or bring back some memories, check out my videos. Like I said, I grew up with this place. I grew up being around it. When I turned 18 and the owners changed hands, I've been there ever since. I work there now. I've worked there for a long time. Hell, this place is like my backyard. I have the front of the buildings tattooed on my forearm. That is how much I love this venue and what it means to this town. So, get a chance, check it out. Definitely check out the I Was Never There podcast about Marsha. You will learn a lot about some of at least Jamie and Karen's history with Marsha. You will also learn about the bar and the venue and some of the cool bands that have played down there over the years. So thanks for tuning in, guys, and I'll catch you next week with another episode. Take it easy.